We are a crotchety old man.
And a woman.
We are a crotchety old man.
And a woman.
I am crotchety. She is crotchety. We are a crotchety old man.
And a woman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to We Are a Crotchety Old Man.
And as I've already said, and a woman.
Because we had to point that out. The podcast for you, with you, and sometimes even about you. We are actually here live in Teaneck, New Jersey, and this is a very special occasion. Arden and his closest friend, Daniel, are celebrating our 50th commitment anniversary of being friends. I have literally known Daniel for 50 years.
That's incredible.
Total silent treatment. But with that, we will actually start off the show with our with our normal National Food Day. And in front of Daniel right now are two large squashes because it's National Squash Day. And we were going to give him a salami, but we were worried that he was going to eat the whole thing instantaneously. Because it's also National Salami Day. Daniel, do you like salami?
Yeah, definitely like salami.
I heard from your wife, Diddy, that you actually have some salami in your refrigerator right now. Is that true?
Pretty much at all times.
Diddy did not want to be on the podcast today.
She has her reasons.
Which is pretty embarrassing. But, you know, we also have Grandma Aud, my mom. She's out in the audience. She's coming. She's over there. And we also have Alfred, who's playing video games. Barely can even hear him. And we also had Alfred's wife was here earlier. So, Abigail, how you doing today?
Pretty good. It's been wild weather. Started okay in the daytime, but then pouring rain. And now it's freezing here in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Teaneck, New Jersey. So, it's time for this Today in History. And so we wanted to start off with in 1533, Queen Elizabeth I was born. Now, Grandma Aud, you did not know Queen Elizabeth, did you?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
She has actually been called the most powerful woman in history because under her, she was part of the British Empire, where the term "the sun never sets" on the British Empire because they had colonies all over the world, so it was always sunshine somewhere, and she inherited that. In 1776, did you know, Daniel, that the world's first submarine was created and used in combat?
I didn't know that.
It was actually called the Turtle, and it was basically a very tiny kind of a barrel. And a guy literally had little pedals, and he had like a little saw, and he pedaled this little thing up into an enemy ship and dug a little hole in it, and pulled it out, and he dug holes throughout the ship, and it actually sunk. There you go, first submarine ever. In 1813, We Want You, Uncle Sam was created.
I find that one interesting.
I thought that was pretty unbelievable because I thought Uncle Sam was much, much later. But 1813 for the War of 1812. Now, this one, you want to talk about unbelievable battles ever? The Boxer Rebellion started in China in 1901. Now, do you know anything about the Boxer Rebellion?
Not really.
Okay. So China was basically every country in Europe and then all over the world was trying to get in on China and try because the population was booming. But the Boxers were what we would call like kung fu guys and peasants. They fought back against it. So there was an expeditionary force made up of 7 other countries. I think it was England, France, America, Germany, Japan, Russia, and there was one other Italy. Did I say Italy? I don't know if I did. Italy. They all fought. They all actually wanted to stop the fighting. So you had 7 countries actually fighting against peasants. and who were unarmed. They had no weapons, but the boxers who were martial art experts held their own for a few days before they eventually were wiped out entirely. Then, 1940, the famous, now this is when Grandma Aud was alive, the Blitz started, where the Nazis were bombing London. And they just kept bombing and bombing it. And do you know how, Daniel, do you know how that actually began? Why they were bombing London? Fascinating. So the British, what happened was the British actually were bombing it. Well, basically, when the Germans wanted to take over England, they first started bombing the airfields. Then they were bombing the radar stations. But the British wanted to fight back. So they started flying, and the British accidentally dropped bombs on Berlin. Never really happened where a major city was bombed before. So the Germans figured, no, that you can't tell Adolf Hitler that we are literally suffering. They were supposed to be the most powerful country on earth. So the Germans just started bombing London. One of the biggest mistakes of the war, because if they had kept bombing the battlefield, the airfields and everything else, they would have actually won, and we never would have been lost.
You lost me with the word bombs, but I'll take you at your word.
This is something that Daniel actually did care about. In 1979, ESPN debuted. Dun, 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 dun.
It used to be a good channel.
Used to be a good channel. Well, this is also very important. In 1986, this was the day that Tupac was shot.
Sad day in your life, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you, were you smoking pot and listening to Tupac while you were in college, like our vice president? Yeah, which she actually was found out impossible to do because she was in college, but Tupac was not, and she lied about that she was smoking pot, and then goes on to arrest all of these people for smoking pot. That is.
I mean, I don't have a problem with people should not bash her for arresting people. I don't have that of all the horrendous things about Kamala Harris. That's like nothing to bash her about.
What about lying, saying that she was smoking pot,
Yeah,
listening to Tupac?
That's hilarious because I mean, obviously she was lying about that.
But still funny. Anyway, now we actually brought Daniel on because he's going to give later his review of Reagan the movie.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But we want to know, how much do you really know about Ronald Reagan?
I mean, I'd like to consider myself an expert. I have a feeling you're going to ask a bunch of questions.
Okay, so we do a true and false. It's 10
Easy
questions.
format, easy format.
Yep, you can obviously guess, 50-50 chance. True or false? Ronald Reagan's father gave him the nickname Fat Little, what was that again? Fat Little Dutchman.
I mean, it was Dutch.
Was,
I mean, his nickname was Dutch. I don't know about the fat little part.
sorry, are you saying false?
I mean, I'll say false, but I'll say false. I'll just.
The answer is true. His father called him the Fat Little Dutchman.
I didn't hear all that.
Okay. He attended Eureka College.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. He excelled in baseball.
I'm gonna say false. I don't think he played baseball. He played football.
Is that your answer?
Yeah, I'm saying false.
Outstanding. That is false. Congratulations. He was a broadcaster for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, that's true.
That is false. He actually did. He broadcast their games, but actually did not actually work for the Cubs. But he also would ad lib throughout it because he literally was reading off of the teleprompter. It was a trick question.
That's a trick question. About that was not really in the movie, by the way.
That's not in the movie. Outstanding. He started acting in 1937 for 20th Century Fox.
False.
That is correct. It was false. He was working for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, that was in the movie as well.
He had a famous role as Newt Rockney of Army. West Point.
There's something wrong in there. False.
Outstanding again. That was famous for Notre Dame. Goldman is doing pretty well. He was actually commissioned as a cavalry officer in 1942.
It could be true. I don't know it to be true, so I'll say false.
It was true, but he never actually served. and he did training films.
Yeah.
So Daniel dominating. He campaigned for Harry Truman in 1948.
Don't think that's true.
That one was true. He became the spokesperson for General Electric.
Yeah, definitely
True. And he first tried to run for president in 1968 on the Republican ticket.
true.
That is true. He ran and finished in third place
So he got about,
behind Nixon and Rockefeller.
so he got about 50%.
That's pretty damn good.
That's an F.
It's an F, but
That's an F.
so you are not an expert of Ronald Reagan. We were going to give you easy ones about that. So as we go, we do try to go rather quickly because we only have a half hour worth of time. Time for some sports. We're skipping the Ask Abigail because we're asking Daniel. So with sports, Abigail, what do you got for us?
Pretty brief. NFL kicked off this week. I didn't even know it, didn't even watch it, but I heard
You shouldn't watch
that
it.
the last play of the game, the Ravens threw for a winning touchdown, and the poor receiver left 1 foot outside of the goal, so they lost the game, and the Chiefs are off to a good start.
Well, did you see that play though? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a foot. His toe, the tip of his toe was out of bounds. So they lost the game.
Well,
Last play of the game, he caught it. They thought they won. Nope, your toe. Literally your toe.
It's the NFL. You
It's-
shouldn't care.
Anyway,
So the Caitlin Clark and
Caitlin Clark.
Angel Reese, what do we want to call it?
controversies, because there were some controversies going on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Caitlin Clark should get Rookie of the Year. No doubt. But a lot of people feel that Angel Reese should get that spot.
Grandma, what do you think about that? Do you think Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark should win Rookie of the Year at this time? Caitlin Clark. Okay.
Well, apparently Angel Reese went on a podcast and basically said that anyone that likes Caitlin Clark is a racist.
Yeah. Did you see that, Daniel?
I don't pay attention to WNBA or NBA for that matter. They both are horrible leagues.
Okay.
I do not encourage anybody to pay any attention to them whatsoever.
No,
But is it true
Obviously-
that you actually went to one of the very first WNBA games?
Yeah, I'd like to make a public apology for that.
Did you know our overseas, what was his name? Joe? What was his name?
Joe from Costa Rica.
Joe, was it Joe from Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe from Costa Rica actually got said that what the hell is the WNBA or something?
No, he said you lost me.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but thanks to Daniel's support, the WNBA is now moving.
I went to the NBA too, and you look at the NBA now.
It's booming.
Probably worse.
Well, probably worse, but this is booming.
You have to admit, nobody should be watching an NBA game. I mean, and the NBA league is of all. I mean, most sports leagues are degenerate. NBA is probably the worst of them all.
Wow.
I have to agree.
I've not liked the NBA ever,
I mean,
so
pretty much every player in the league. I mean, you shouldn't give any credibility to whatsoever.
Diddy, do you have any opinion on the NBA or WNBA? No opinion from Daniel's wife, Diddy.
So the only other topic I have is that the Yankees seem to be tanking.
I saw that. I almost dropped the F-bomb right there. I mean,
Really?
Alfred, where's your wife?
She left.
She loved.
Can you please have her call into the show? This is unbelievable. The Yankees were dominating. They were up by 3 games, and now they're choking. Judge hasn't hit a home run in 2 weeks. He was on pace for 63. Now he might not even hit 60. I'm very angry at this.
Just give him some more roids.
I mean, it's not roids. What's your thought on Shohei Ohtani becoming the first 50-50 man?
I mean, baseball has kind of lost it as well.
Really? You're not getting back into it?
Nah, not at all.
I mean, but would you say that Judge is like the best player right now? Now that Trout is done, would you go Ohtani? I mean, 50-50. I mean, 50 steals, because you don't steal bases when you're on roids.
Yeah, but it's all for baseball. It's all. I mean, for all sports, it's all about betting and stuff like that.
You don't care about betting. So you don't follow any sports?
Not really.
Really?
I used to.
What was your favorite sport?
Hockey and baseball, definitely.
Okay, I mean, do you at
I mean,
least,
yeah, it's just the players are horrible people. The owners are horrible people. Why would you watch? Why would you pay attention to the professional leagues of today?
who was
It's
your
sad, but it's true.
who was your favorite athlete as a kid?
Dave Winfield.
Wow, well, that was interesting. I would have said someone else, but that's okay.
Who would you have said?
Well, for you, I probably thought it was like Tommy John or
Yeah, Tommy John was definitely up there.
yeah. I mean, Mel Hall was one of your.
No.
Did you see how messed up he is now?
Yeah, he was in the news for something.
Yeah, he's been in jail for like molesting kids and all that. Like he's really messed up. Anyway, sorry, off topic there. Anything else for sports?
No, that's a wrap for the sport.
So, Daniel, we need your review. Abigail and I next weekend are going to be seeing Reagan. So, should we see it? And I mean, it's Reagan, so I mean, it's obviously not going to like. There's no spoilers in the movie that about a person's life, but
Yeah,
okay.
it's pretty much what you would expect, which is a good thing. Especially now because you see how bad communism is and how it has actually taken hold. That
Right.
It's like said, it supposedly took a while for this movie to come out, and it's true. I mean, all these years, you hope to have a movie that like is for normal people. That's not a bunch of transvestites running around molesting kids.
Mhm.
So this is a movie for people who don't want that and who want to support what Ronald Reagan did, which is basically make America great again in 1980.
In 19. Now, where does it start? Like, does it go into his backstory? Like, I don't know anything really about the movie.
Yeah, like they make. I mean, first of all, it basically covers like all the accomplishments that Reagan did and focusing on how he was focused on defeating communism as it was growing in America when he was president of the Screen Actors Guild. Because I mean, you literally, people made fun of him probably back then for saying, "Oh, there's all these communist actors," and now you're like, "Well, obviously there are because that's happening." I mean, they've completely taken over Hollywood now, but he at the time was able to prevent it from taking over too much when he saw it starting. So I mean, his story is as relevant now as it ever was. And to answer your question, yeah, you should absolutely see it because it shows him what one person can do who's dedicated to doing something that's really important and is something that affects America today. So yes, you should see it. The perspective it starts from like they show a fictional character, I believe, who is from Russia, who basically blames or gives credit to Reagan for stopping communism. And it kind of like goes back and forth between this fictional character talking to another fictional character who's Russian, who I think lives in America. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's basically explaining Russia to this young Reagan to this younger Russian. Like he's an older Russian, and he's talking to like a younger Russian about how Reagan basically stopped him, and they call him the Crusader because it's true. He was a crusader against communism, and he was successful.
And who are like the actors in it? Like I think it was John Voight is one, but I
Yeah,
don't
John
know.
Voight was one of these fiction. I mean, I didn't necessarily know he was fictional, but I saw in the reviews he was not real. But yeah, he's like the older Russian guy,
Okay.
and it's funny because you see the professional movie critics are all like ultra liberal types, and they're all like, oh, he has such a horrible accent. Oh, Dennis Quaid is so laughable as Reagan, as a younger man and an older man. It's ridiculous, blah blah. But I mean, literally, if you watch the movie and you don't hate Ronald Reagan, you don't think that at all. I mean, Dennis Quaid did a really good job as Ronald Reagan, from the younger Reagan to the older Reagan, and John Voight as this Russian guy was fine. I mean, whatever.
Alfred actually had a question earlier about is Nancy Reagan in it, saying just say no at all?
Nancy Reagan's definitely in it, and she was definitely a big part of it. They don't, I mean, because people bash her for opposing drugs, but that's another thing. You see, she was right to do it. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how she's seen as like a villain for that. They don't really show, there's a lot of things they don't include in the movie, and I don't remember them including the Just Say No campaign. I mean, it's more focused on Reagan than, because he wasn't as much a part of it as she was. Obviously, she was the Just Say No person.
Right.
But you're right, they made fun of her for
And
it.
they still do to this day. They still hate the fact that she was against drugs, and they hate people who are against drugs today, except maybe fentanyl, though I like to bash. But yeah, I mean, look, marijuana is legal now in a lot of states,
Mm-hmm.
and look at the results.
Grandma, what? Anything to add about Ronald Reagan? Are you going to go see it eventually?
It's very interesting.
Okay. So how would you get a Gen Z to actually, because it's kind of long, right? It's over 2 hours.
It's over 2 hours. I don't think that's the problem. I actually saw it with my friend Alfred.
So you did see it with Alfred.
Yeah.
And now
And we did look around and we were like, most of the people are probably older than us.
wow.
Because you want the younger generation to see this because like if we go around talking about how we grew up under Reagan and how great he was, you want kids to know that and understand what he did because what he did really is historical and a historical success. But I don't think one of the quotes that he was famous for was included in the movie where he mentioned how communism is always a generation away from coming back because he basically defeated communism. They show that in the movie. Obviously, they're not going to show how communism came back again stronger than ever, which he would have hated to see. But I mean, he was correct that, yeah, he defeated it. It looked like it was over. Nobody in their right mind after the Berlin Wall came down would have thought that there would be any chance that it would make a comeback like it did. And now it's here in America. So now, obviously, we need somebody like Reagan to come in and crush it again. And it can always come back again like a weed, but that's
And
what's
who's that
happening now.
going to be?
I mean, we hope it's Donald Trump.
That's right.
Now, where does the movie end? Like, does it end with his second term? Like, does it show him getting shot?
Well,
I mean, I'm not asking. I mean, these are things that happen.
I mean, it ends with him dying.
Well, okay,
He
so
got they show him. They show some of the sad parts where everyone made fun of him because he was old, blah blah blah. But obviously, he was still doing a good job through the end, and the Berlin Wall came down after a couple of years. But he was there for that, and obviously they show his Berlin Wall speech. But they show he got Alzheimer's, and they show the guy who was famous for Reagan loved horses. He lived on a ranch in California that he loved, and they show that, and they show the guy who was who took him around riding on a horse side by side or whatever, a security guard. I forget his name. Some people know it, but he was in the movie, and they show the sad part where the guy's like, he's losing it. It's dangerous for him to ride his horse that he's been riding for so many years and loves, and we just have to stop it. We can't let him keep riding anymore. So they showed that scene, and it was pretty much how I remember it. Like if you read his biography, if you read his autobiography, or if you read any of the other biographies about him, they almost always include that part where he had to be told, yeah, you can't ride again. He asked for just one more.
Wow, one more little ride.
One more ride on his ranch, and that was it. Yeah, he couldn't.
Wow.
So then, I mean, that wasn't the end. The end was, yeah, he got Alzheimer's. He wrote a note, I think he made an address, and he wrote a handwritten note. That's also in one of his books where you can see like what he said, like basically that you're not going to see him anymore because he has Alzheimer's, and it was sad. I remember being sad at the time, and it was true. You didn't see him. He was still alive for 10 years.
Right.
After that, Nancy Reagan took care of him. And supposedly it was horrible, and his Alzheimer's got really bad, but he had it for 10 years.
Right.
And
That's a long time.
Yeah, and then he passed away.
Did you tear up?
I teared up a little bit.
Wow.
I'm glad you can admit it.
I mean, he did so much, and he wasn't like Obama constantly out there flapping his lips. Whereas, obviously, in my perspective, I probably would have liked it, but part of it was because that was the way people were, and part of it was because he literally had Alzheimer's and he couldn't do that. Like he literally basically through his life when he could do something, he did, and then he couldn't anymore.
Outstanding.
All I remember is that was my introduction to politics.
Was
With
Reagan.
Reagan. I would watch it with my dad, his speeches, very inspirational.
Yeah,
A great man.
a great man.
A great man. But he would not be a crotchety old man though.
No.
He would
He
not.
was definitely not crotchety.
He was definitely not crotchety.
And it's funny too because I don't.
Grandma Aud, was he a crotchety old man? Grandma Aud is so old she babysat for Reagan. That's pretty bad. I just saw Alfred go by. Alfred, any information you'd like to share about Daniel crying in the theater?
I didn't see Daniel cry in the theater, but Reagan was a man of integrity.
In case people couldn't hear, he said that Goldman was bawling his eyes out, and literally wiped it on his sleeves.
Yeah, that was when we ran out of popcorn.
Yeah, and he also said he was stuffed eating popcorn, which I got to admit was pretty funny. Because if you know Daniel, Daniel can eat. Usually goes back for refills of
Yeah,
popcorn,
it's been years since I saw a movie, and I gotta say they have not made the popcorns any smaller. So
which is a
they
good
did the
thing.
job.
And now, how much did
They're
it
more
cost?
expensive, but
I was
they're
about to say, how much did it cost for a movie?
yeah.
Because
You have to ask Alfred. He took care of that part, but I'm guaranteed it was 20. It was probably like $20.
25
Yeah,
two servers
yeah,
$25. Okay,
yeah.
because I went with Abigail to the movies, and like it was insane. It was like what was it? It was like $50 for two people, and we got we did a popcorn soda. She did buy me a mixed drink. We talked about that the other day. That was good quality, but yeah. Anything from Diddy? Anything? Anything? Wow. So
I'm
basically,
working on her to go see it too.
you're not going to see it? You're waiting for the Obama movie to come out or the Kamala Harris movie? I'm surprised the Kamala Harris.
You got to say, I was, the critics who obviously are liberals hate this movie. They don't want to see it. And then you think about all the movies they have, which is, basically every single one. But then it's like, yeah, it's true. They have the Michelle Obama documentary on Netflix and all this other crap. But I don't think they've made like
They
a
haven't made.
biography of their scumbag leaders like Obama or anything like
They
that.
also didn't make one of Clinton, did they?
No.
Wow, they haven't. I mean, Harris is. I mean, I'm surprised she hasn't won a Nobel Peace Prize yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they did make one for Margaret.
for Margaret Thatcher, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't like Margaret Thatcher either.
Yeah, they hated
No.
her.
They hated her.
She's in the movie.
Well, she should be.
Briefly, yeah, very briefly.
Is Pope John Paul in the movie at all?
He's mentioned. I don't know if they have a character playing him or not, but he's also very brief. But that's the thing too.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
they left out some things, like they don't really have him as a sportscaster, for example.
Well, that makes sense.
And the movie's still over 2 hours, and it covers so much that it's like, I mean, you can't really fault them for what they left out.
I mean, you have to. I mean, like
Yeah.
if you watch some of the documentaries on some of these leaders, I mean, and you also enjoyed a preview about another famous president.
Yeah, yeah. Of course they have. Yeah. Speaking of the liberal movies, they're. How many times have we heard them say, "Oh, well, all these people are gay. Oh, by the way, Abraham Lincoln, he might have been gay." Blah. We must have heard that for 15 years from their side, and now they have a full-length movie. Apparently, was Abraham Lincoln gay? And of course, their answer is yes. And it's like based on like one letter he wrote where he mentioned something about being friends with some guy, and they're like, okay, well, Lincoln was the gay. Now we're gonna make an entire movie about it. And I was very happy to see other people disagreed with the preview in the movie theater. They didn't seem too happy about it.
Did they boo?
I did.
You actually booed in the movie theater.
Alfred didn't like that, but yeah.
Was he worried that people were going to throw popcorn at you or something?
I was thinking about throwing popcorn at the screen, but I didn't do it.
Well, it's too valuable to throw popcorn at the screen. Well, man, anything else going on?
Yeah, let me just throw in one more thing.
Of course, we actually have plenty of time. Silence.
We just talked about how Reagan died of Alzheimer's, right?
I forgot.
Sorry.
Wow.
I think it was something I said.
Inappropriate.
You might have early onset cases. But you notice how I'm not a big fan of Kennedy,
Right.
but one of his things is about how why is everyone getting these diseases? And it's true. It seems to me like so many kids are getting diabetes, like compared to normal, and Alzheimer's. Like Alzheimer's, I mean, Reagan got it, but it seemed like that was not as nearly as common back then when he got it as is happening now. It seems like I know, 1 out of 3 or 4 people I know have parents or relatives who have Alzheimer's. It just seems way more common. And that seems to be one of his big things too. So
yeah, his eating habit, like the whole eating habit.
Yeah, he blames a lot of things. I mean, the food is one, especially for diabetes, but and he blames other things. I question like pesticides and stuff like that. But there's got to be reasons why these diseases are so much more prevalent than they were back then. And these are horrible diseases.
And also the psychological problems a lot of kids are having. I would actually say that's part of the nutrition. Like, I mean, like you think about it, like you're feeding these chickens and cows and everything all of these drugs to get them bigger and bigger and bigger.
I have no problem with
that. Well, you're eating.
I think that's one of the things like Kennedy says, and I don't know. I personally, I'm not going to eat like an organic chicken for $95.
Well, it's the cost, but I mean, like the processed foods. Like we don't know what's in American cheese anymore. Like the processed foods are so bad, and I am like so guilty of eating everything processed.
Yeah.
Like a McDonald's cheeseburger. Like how much of that is actually healthy?
Yeah. But I mean, like that's not good for you.
You know it's not good, but you're forced to eat it. Like you're eating ramen noodles every day.
Wait, you're not forced to eat it.
Well, I mean, the people who make less money have that problem. Because we got a little dog going on in the background in case you didn't hear it. Awesome. That would be Luna, one of Abigail's. It's not your dog, thank goodness. Your dogs would be punished if they were barking on the podcast. It's actually Daniel's dog. Anything else that talked about food? Anything?
Yeah, no. I mean, I just want to say, like, that's another reason for Trump. Like, if he brings Kennedy in, and Kennedy wants to focus on why people are getting Alzheimer's, why people are getting diabetes, that's another plus for him.
Agreed.
Anyway, with that, we are a crotchety old man.
And a woman.
We are a crotchety old man. I am crotchety, she is crotchety, we are a crotchety old man. I don't know what's going on with my mom.
And a woman. And thank you for joining tonight.
Have a good one. Thank you.